Hello there, good evening, welcome. You have been unmuted apparently. Good evening, welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. I'm Anthony Murphy. This is Live Irish Myths. This is episode number, 248? Who's counting? I hope you're all keeping well this evening, this afternoon, this morning. Wherever you are in the world, if you're here, please do say hello. Please do chat and comment, and we will do our best to say hello, basically, as we always do. Today, we are returning to the social history of ancient Ireland by P.W. Joyce. We're talking about battles. And today, among the other topics that we'll be discussing, we're talking about things like counting the slain, as in counting the dead in battle, decapitation, treatment of prisoners, modes of submission. Oh, all sounds very exciting. Hope you're ready. Hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for a gruesome delve into the past. Anyway, before we get to that, hello to Elaine Dent Lingenfelter, who is the first in the house this evening, which is not at all surprising. She seems to sit at the computer slash iPad slash phone, waiting for the live stream to start so she can be the first to comment. And it's 77 Fahrenheit in Texas, 25 Celsius. Yeah, I think Brendan Byrne said it's 4 degrees in Glendalough. It's 10 degrees at Dublin Airport right now, so you have 15 degrees on us, Elaine. Send a few in this direction if you don't mind. Brendan Fulcher Roat Mukharja. Tuesday Thompson is saying happy Tuesday from Tuesday. Yes, indeed, we're actually broadcasting on the right day this week for you anyway. Michael Trott is saying Majinwa. He's in New Zealand, so that means he's in tomorrow. Giagwich from New Zealand, Anton, Tua, Tomas, etc. Actually, I didn't see Thomas. I didn't see the bowl Tom yet on Goa. Good morning to you, Michael. Happy Wednesday. Gavin O'Flaherty, who is the Cove Gooner, is saying happy Tuesday to Tuesday. Rex Fortenberry is greeting all the mighty warriors, a Warmish, Louisiana, from a Warmish, Louisiana even. Ready for some myth flicks and brilliant stuff, Rex. Hope you're in good form. Wayne Bird, are you on Facebook, Anthony? Yes, is the answer. Yes, and perhaps somebody like Auntie Joe has shared that to the Mythical Ireland community. But maybe not. Okay, well, maybe somebody would do that. But yes, is the a short answer. Wayne, and good evening to you. A balmy 4 Celsius. How is it you're 6 degrees colder than us? You're only like 50 miles down the road. Brendan, what is the story? What's going on down there? I hope your wife's birthday went well too. Yeah, so do I. I'm sure, yes, she would agree. It went fantastic. Okay, just came live. Brilliant. Just now? No, I'm sure. No, it has to have been there all along. No? Ash, look, I wouldn't be surprised with the way things go on Facebook land these days. Lily Shambles is in the house. Greetings to you, Lily. Welcome to the live stream. Elaine Dent Lingenfelter is weddy. Anna L is also in the house. Hello, Anna L. Good evening and welcome to the episode. Tom King says, hello, Anthony. Greetings to all the two. I'm from a beautiful moonlit Boyne Valley. Looking forward to another story. Enjoy all. Well, I'm sure we'll have. Well, that's the plan. We'll have a great bit of fun. We'll learn about the past and have a bit of crack together at the same time. What am I doing here? Is next week ghost story time? Is that because it's Samhain? Not at all. Don't believe all the hype. Maybe. Sorry. Now I'm getting distracted. Samantha Healy is in the house. Good evening, Anthony, and to all the two. Well, a very good evening to you, Samantha, and I hope you are well. So, what is happening in the world of mythological, astronomical, megalithical stuff? Well, lots, of course. And now we finally get a proper look at the real Mythical Ireland calendars. See the sheen on that. Look, so remember last week I showed you the I don't know if we called it a prototype or what we called it. We did there was a dummy done on a digital printing, and look, you can see the difference in the sheen on the cover straight away. So anyway, lots of these are currently finding their way out into the world. All of those on the island of Ireland who ordered their calendars should have them by now. If not, they should be coming tomorrow. Everybody else, yours are on their way very, very soon. All of the pre-orders are being dealt with and will be, shall we say, what's the official description, off the premises over the next couple of days, over the next day or two. So get your 2024 Mythical Ireland calendar and find a nail and hang it and let it open, and it'll look like that. Yes, indeedy. You get those on the website, mythicalireland.com, in the shop. I'll send you the link now. Have to do tiny bit of refocusing. Yeah. The Hag's chair at Slieve na Collier, Kieran T at Lough Crew, and Aurora over Newgrange, and Isle na Muireann at Ishnock, and Kieran F at Carrowkeel, Brickleave Mountains, and the Gaelic Chieftain statue, and Dogda's Mound in the Fog, full moon setting over Newgrange, and partial solar eclipse, the Mill Mountain in the Frost, and a top-down view of Newgrange. Yes, indeedy. Let me share that. Let me share that link. And I know lots and lots of you have already ordered and pre-ordered. It's now available for order. No longer what we call pre-ordering, simply on the basis that we have calendars now, so you don't have to pre-order. Anyway, I'll just share the link there. If you haven't already done so, you can get your calendar there on the Mythical Ireland website. And if you have already done so, you might be thinking, do you know what? That's really nice. I'll buy that as a Christmas present for Auntie Mary or Uncle Jimmy or, Cousin Fred, whatever it happens to be your preference. So, are we all comfortable? It's very important that we're comfortable. Did I miss any comments? Lily says, the calendars look amazing, but I'm sure they will look better in person, can't we? Yes, indeed. And you can't beat the feel of a decent printed product. Adina Sparks is in the house. Hope all are well. Glad to be able to make today's episode. We are glad that you are here, especially with the disruption to normal service, it being a day later than usual. Lovely. I was moaning that I never got motivated. Never mind, Anthony. Never got notified. Thought you were on Monday, Mr. Anthony Murphy. Yeah, no, there was a post yesterday saying we were postponing. Fergal Canton is in the house. Launch a row of Cork Tua. Fergal, what is the story with you? I hope you're busy writing away in the background there, and maybe playing some tunes as well. Sean Padder is in Sligo. I uploaded some photos of my climb at Knocknashee on the Facebook group. I hope you enjoyed. Yes, indeed. Sean. It's a funny thing when you go to a group and yes, Sean, that's you. Sean Murta. Yeah, very nice. Looked like a lovely day, by the way. Yeah. Muckelty Hill, which also has a Neolithic cairn on its summit. And Mullinabrina Church. Wow. Kesh Corran from the other side. Wow. I hadn't seen that one. I hadn't sort of stopped to actually take them all in. Wow. And there's Ben Bulbin and Knocknarea. Wow. That's some lineup, isn't it? Looks really gorgeous up there. Keshkaran is the one, of course, that can be seen from Cairness at Lough Crew. Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely. Mark Gordon is in Iowa. Good afternoon to you, Mark. Welcome. Tea is in the house. Tea all round, please. Soon to be joined by coffee, and shortly after that by cakes and buns. Sorry. 20 Celsius and spring showers here in New Zealand. Wow. 20. I would take that on any spring day. Next partial solar eclipse visible in Ireland, 8th of April 2024. Yes, but there's a partial. Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry. You're right. There's a partial lunar eclipse this weekend. Is it Saturday? Is it the 28th? I think. A penumbral, not a penumbral, but it's a partial eclipse. Just a small bite out of the moon. Speaking of moon, there's Caitlin Moon. There's a spooky moon here in Dublin. Oh, wait, that's me. Brilliant. Pleased to discover Fionn McCool was from a tribe associated in the Book of Invasions with the Firvolg and a Biffo as well. Biffo? What's a Biffo? Explain to the uninitiated. SG space D tells us that lunar eclipse viewable in 10/28. Yeah, 28th of October. It's funny because in this part of the world we write that 28/10 just to confuse everyone. T says, I ate all the buns. How dare you? Without sharing them around. Helen Harris Chader is in the house. I've just arrived back from the post office, picking up a gorgeous pendant from Tom King. Wow, there you go. Very special, very nice. Mez Marion is also here in the house. Hello, I've got coffee and buns right here. Well, come on, what are you waiting for? Please share them around. I doubt you'll find many people who'll say no thanks, you know. Biffo equals big ignorant fellow from Offaly. Ah, now I have you. Aha. Wasn't that the nickname of a former Taoiseach of Ireland, Biffo? Was he from Offaly, was he? Hello from California, says SG space D. Well, good afternoon to you. Just about. What is it? 12 minutes past 12, midday there. So, I'm a Biffo, says T. Oh, you're from Offaly, are you? Yeah. What's the temperature in Burr at the moment? Is it awfully cold in Burr? In Burr? I promise. No, we're not doing this. We're not engaging in those kind of frivolous, stupid jokes. You know, somebody asked me the other day what was the stupidest thing I'd ever done. I said, it was awfully bold of you to assume that I've peaked. 3 sugars, 2 spoons, and 2 saucers, please, says 322 Messenger. Yes, indeed, for all of the tea that's going to have to be passed around. A little known fact, Captain Hook bought his hook from a second-hand store. I'll just get reading, shall I? Because if I read from the text, chances are there's a reduced chance that I will tell dad jokes. 28th of October, 1901. 1 minute past 7 in the evening, we're going to see an eclipse, a partial eclipse. Ambulance headquarters in Ireland being moved to Nina. That's a proper quality joke, that, Fergal. Straight out of the same book. So we're going to talk now about commanders. So we are on episode 10 of this sojourn, or this journey, this odyssey through the social history of ancient Ireland, as published in this first of 2 volumes by P.W. Joyce back in 1903. This is episode number 10. We've been reading this book for 10 episodes, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I believe from the feedback that all of you have been enjoying it immensely as well. So, in ancient times, commanders commonly fought side by side with their men. Cue barrage of comments on YouTube and Facebook saying, not like these days when cowardly commanders send their soldiers into battle from afar, or even worse again, Cowardly commanders who order drone strikes and never get anywhere near their victims. Yes, indeed. We probably shouldn't open that one, should we? I think we'll perhaps not. Yeah, times are sensitive, with everything that's going on. We should probably just avoid. Wow, that's a big stone. Sorry. But sometimes the wiser plan was adopted of placing the general aside in some commanding station to direct the tactics. That sounds a little bit more like what generally happens. It was customary for the commanders just before the battle to go from battalion to battalion and address their men in a few inspiring words, of which there are many examples in the histories and tales. Yes. Ride to ruin and a red dawn and all of that. They may take our lives, but they'll never take our mythflix. Trumpets. The Irish constantly used bronze war trumpets in battle, as will be found mentioned in the chapter on music. At the Battle of Balamoon, there's Moon again. She's all over the place today. Oh, excuse me. Apologies. At the Battle of Balamoon, AD 908, in which Cormac MacCullonan was killed. Wasn't he the guy who wrote some of Laur na Hira? No, he's the guy who wrote Cormac's Glossary, of course. Quote, trumpets were blown and signals were given for battle by the men of Munster, unquote. There is a curious notice of the use of battle trumpets in Ireland in a gloss or commentary on St. Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians, written on the continent in the 8th century by an Irishman in his native language, from which it appears that the trumpeters had different notes or musical phrases to direct different movements. The following is Dr. Stokes's translation of this note. That would be Dr. Whitley Stokes. Quote, this is another similitude which he has, even a similitude of a trumpet, for it hath many sounds, and different is each of them. To wit, it is different for battle, different for unyoking, or for marching, or for sleep, or for counsel, unless the man who sounds it distinguish, that is, if he make but one note, what is sounded for is not understood. Unquote. Wow. So they played a tune, and according to the tune they played, you had to do different things. War cries. The armies charged with a great shout called Baron Glade, warrior shout, a custom which continued until late times. The different tribes and clans had also special war cries, which are noticed by Ware, W-A-R-E, and by Spencer. The Anglo-Normans fell in with this custom, as they did with many others. The war cry of the O'Neills was Love Jarag Abu, i.e., the red hand to victory, from the figure of a bloody hand on their crest or cognizance, that of the O'Briens and McCarthy's. Love Lauder Abu, strong hand to victory. The Kildare Fitzgeralds took as their cry Crum Abu, from the great Geraldine Castle of Crum or Croom in Limerick. The Earl of Desmond, Hanet Abu, from the Castle of Shannon in Limerick. The butler's cry was Butler Abu. Most of the other chiefs, both native and Anglo-Irish, had their several cries. Martin found this custom among the people of the Hebrides in 1703. And in Ireland, war cries continued in use to our own day. I heard them scores of times in the faction fights of Limerick half a century ago. Though our knowledge of these cries is derived mostly from late Anglo-Irish writers, it is highly probable that they were in use in early times. See an article on war cries of Irish septs in Ulster Journal of Archaeology III.203, in which will be found a long list of them. Counting the slain. Oh, thank you, Sean Padder. That's very nice of you to say so. Mythical Ireland a boo. Woo! Mythflix a boo. Barbara Murphy is in the house, apparently. How did you sneak in late? I jest, of course. We might get a bit of rain today. Woo! We've been getting a lot of rain. You can have some of ours. Counting the slain. In the story of Bruin da Derga, we get a curious glimpse of the way of estimating the number of men that fell in a battle. Apologies. When the army of marauders under Inkel with the sons of Dundessa were marching to attack the hostel, knowing well that they would encounter formidable resistance, each man brought a large stone, and they threw them all in one heap on the plain. On returning after the fight, each brought away a stone from the cairn, and the stones that were left showed the number killed, and served as a memorial of the destruction of the mansion with the slaughter of the king and his people. That's very interesting, isn't it? Everybody brings a stone before the battle, and when they're finished, bring away a stone. And all the stones that are left indicate those who have not returned from the battle. Wow. But though cairns were sometimes erected with the object stated here, they were generally, as shown in chapter XXXI section 5, simple memorials of the dead. Sir Samuel Ferguson remarks that perhaps the latest instance of this practice was the cairn erected by the Farquharsons in 1745 when marching to the Battle of Culloden. He also points out that a similar means of estimating the slain was in use by the ancient Persians, as recorded by Procopius. But here, each man, instead of bringing a stone for a cairn, threw an arrow into a common basket. Wow. Lynn Foley is saying hello from El Paso in Texas. Sorry, so late, but happy to be back. Well, we're happy you're here, Lynn, and of course, there's no need to apologize. You're very, very welcome, whether late or not. These sound like some gravestones, says Caitlin. Yes, indeed. Decapitation. Lynn Murphy loves learning. Sure, look, always very happy to teach another Murphy. Us sea warriors. Sea warriors of the world unite. Decapitation. After a battle, the victors often decapitated the bodies of their dead enemies. Sometimes they placed the heads in a heap as a sort of triumph, a barbarous custom among other ancient nations. For instance, when the Norsemen fought a battle in Ireland among themselves, AD 851, the victors piled up a great cairn of Danish heads on the field. Coda says hello, by the way. And of course, we now know, as I keep reiterating, that in fact the Irish Vikings, the ones who came to Ireland, were mostly Norse Vikings and not Danish. Michael Pike is in the house. Hello, good afternoon, Michael. Thank you for joining us. You're very, very welcome on episode number 248 of Live Irish Bits. This practice by the Irish is so often mentioned that it is needless to give instances. Hence, also, the carnage in battle is often designated Orcian, a slaughter of heads. It should be remarked that the Irish did not kill the wounded, but brought them from the field of battle as prisoners. An instance may be seen in the Four Masters under AD 864, when Aed Finlea, King of Ireland, having defeated the Danes, made a heap of the heads on the slain and had the wounded conveyed away to a place of safety. That's interesting, isn't it? So there was some mercy shown, if that's the way you want to put it. Whenever a king or chief was defeated or slain in battle, he was usually decapitated, and it was a custom for the victorious king to sit upon the head or place it under his thigh by way of triumph. Ew! When Archbishop Cormac MacCullonan, King of Munster, was slain in the Battle of Bellamoon, AD 908, and we mentioned this previously, author of Cormac's Glossary, some persons brought his head after the battle to the victorious King Flann Sinna, thinking it would be an acceptable presentation. And they said, "Life and health, O victorious king! Here is the head of Cormac for thee. And now, as is customary with kings, raise thy thigh and place his head under it and press it down." Unquote. But the king was very angry with them, and instead of showing disrespect to the head, took it up tenderly and, kissing it 3 times, sent it back to be interred honourably with the body. Sorry, apologies. Yes, indeed. I wonder, what was the reason for the respect? Was it also the fact that, was it the fact that he was an archbishop as well as a king? This atrocious custom, as Keating's translator O'Mahony calls it, existed in a still more savage form in early times. Conall Cernach, the inveterate enemy of Connacht, killed at least one Connacht man every day, and never slept without the head of a Connacht enemy under his knee, fo agloon. Did he have nightmares? I think he was getting ahead of himself. Moving swiftly on. Helen is telling us Reese is giving out his bark for Coda. Coda is being heard around the world, and the dogs are answering. Gondor calls for aid, and Rohan will answer. Treatment of prisoners. It was the custom, except under circumstances that rendered it improper, inconvenient, or undesirable, to fetter or manacle prisoners or captives taken in war, slaves, and occasionally hostages. We know that a person might be taken in bondage in distraint for a debt, and such a person was often secured by a gyve and lock, Gyve. The law permitted this, but if the chain was tightened so as to cause pain, there was a penalty. In another part, so it sounds like the Geneva Conventions had their origins in Ireland. In another part of the Seanachas Mór, a lock to secure the gyves of an important slave is mentioned. Am I pronouncing that right? Gyve. Gyve. Is he saying jive? Jive. Jive. He's saying jive, not gyve. Just taking a margin note to that respect. Is he maybe not spelling it right? Well, it's Gyve is the spelling that's given, and that's what I looked up, and that's the pronunciation it's giving in the online dictionary. A fetter or shackle. Jive. So there's a different kind of jive. Yes, which is just some sort of physical moving, dancing maneuver. The law permitted in another part a lock. Yes. A captive taken in battle was almost always secured by a fetter, cuivrech, and such a person was commonly given over to a keeper whose business it was to guard against escape. Some fetters were recognized by law and some not. And when the Book of Achill lays down rules as to how far the keeper was responsible in law for damages, in case the captive should make his escape, or for crimes committed by him after escaping, the sort of fetters used was taken into account. When Murkertach of the Leather Cloaks made his circuit around Ireland, I wonder why they called him that. Did he wear lots of cloaks? 40 coats and 50 pockets. Oh, they're testing the light shows, apparently. Woo! They're testing the Lou Festival of Light shows. It's only Tuesday, starting on Friday. Wow. They're early. Jeez, I should head in, shouldn't I, to have a look. Monica Regley is in Switzerland. Wet in Switzerland. How's Ireland? Also wet. Lots of rain in recent days. Lots and lots and lots of rain. Yes, indeed. Anne McCallum has joined us. Having a difficult time seeing the comments and posting my hello. Anyway, hope everyone's well and that Anne had a lovely birthday. 23 Celsius today. 23 Celsius. I, for some reason, had this impression that Ontario was cold. Colder than Ireland. Well, it is in the middle of winter, but obviously not at this time of the year. Testing on St. Peter's and the Gate. Wow. Woo! Lou Festival of Light, folks. Drogheda, place to be over the next 2 weekends. When, yes. When Murkertach of the Leather Cloaks made his circuit around Ireland, AD 941, he brought away many kings and chiefs as captives, several of whom were fettered. I can't imagine they'd be too happy about that. Cormacan Ekes, or Ekes. The writer of the poetical account of the expedition says, quote, "We carried off with us Lorcan, descendant of Bressel of the Cows, a rough, bright fetter, Gemule or Gevel was fastened on that arch-king of populous Leinster," unquote. In the case of some kings, fetters were not considered necessary on this occasion. This is mentioned as a mark of distinction or consideration. Concovar, the arch-king of Connacht, says Cormacan, exceeding brave, came with us without a bright fetter, unquote. Of the material and manner of fastening fetters, whether used on prisoners of war or otherwise, we get various glimpses in the old narratives. When Callahan, king of Cashel, was brought away captive by Murkertach and was put, quote, there was put, quote, a ring of 15 ounces on his hand and a chain of iron on his stout leg, unquote. When Dictlehe O'Trialy attempted to go away on a dangerous pilgrimage, his brothers, quote, took him and fettered him, placing a chain secured by a lock of iron between his head and his feet. Ouch. Modes of submission. A king who was about to submit to another usually came to the superior king's residence and, after the formalities of reception, indicated his submission by placing his hand in the hand of his host. But when the submission was brought on directly by defeat in battle, it was usually of a more humiliating kind. In the 7th century, Dermot, one of the two joint kings of Ireland, and Gura, king of Connacht, quarrelled. Gura was defeated and made, quote, submission at the point of the sword, unquote. Well, of course. This was usually done in the following manner. The person submitting lay supine, while his conqueror inserted the point of a sword or spear between his teeth and held it there as long as it pleased him, sometimes for an hour or more. When he released him from the degrading position, it was sometimes called Gaelad Friclaive, submission by sword, or Gaelad Doringai, submission at the spear's point. This same ceremony was sometimes used 9 centuries later by the English deputies at the time of Elizabeth when they forced Irish chiefs to submit. Single combat. Among the Irish, as well as among the Gauls and other ancient peoples, men often challenged each other to single combat, called in Irish Fur Covlon, the truth of combat, and Comrach ein Fur, combat of one man. Sometimes the duel was resorted to, as among the early English, as a form of ordeal to determine cases, though it is not included in the list of Irish ordeals. Sometimes the pair fought man to man as a result of quarrel and challenge, merely as an affair of valour on which nothing depended except life. Ah, yeah, it's only the piffling matter of one's life that depends on it. Yes, strange. If a man who was fully armed and prepared to fight declined to meet an adversary who came up and offered battle, he incurred disgrace and some loss of status. It appears that in very old times, when a hostile force invaded a territory, it was a recognized custom that a champion of the invaded people might offer single combat, which was always accepted, and the invading army were bound to halt till they had found someone to subdue the defending champion. It was by taking advantage of this custom that Cuchulainn barred for some time the advance into Ulster of the Connacht army under Ailill and Maeve. For he sent challenge after challenge and killed every man that came to meet him. These combats were always fought at fords, and, at least sometimes, the combatants fought standing in the water. A deliberate agreement to refer the settlement of any cause or dispute of the issue, to the issue of single combat was called Carja Chlaiv, or agreement of the sword or sword pact. And of course, Carja is like friends, isn't it? Sean, is it, or is that how I'm pronouncing that? Or is it Cyan? Or perhaps you might tell me. Uh, Sean or Cyan Williams. It's my first live show listening in from the Netherlands. Great to make me feel at home. Well, you're very welcome. And of course, do please feel at home. Put your feet up, grab yourself a cup of tea or whatever you're having, and, enjoy. Monica. Have booked another trip to Ireland for my mum and my sister and myself next April. Yay, you're coming back, Monica. You just can't stay away from the place, can you? You just can't. And sure, who could blame you, Because I'm here and I can't stay away from the place. The Brehon law took careful cognizance of single combats and laid down stringent rules regarding them. Some combats for deciding causes were designated as legal, some as illegal. If a looker on reasonably interfered to prevent the fight and got injured, one or both were liable to him for damages. If both were fighting legally or both illegally, they paid equal shares. If one was fighting legally and the other illegally, the illegal combatant paid the larger share. So far as I can make sense of this part of the Book of Achill, a man fought legally if he had no other mode of settling the case, and illegally if he had. The correctness of this interpretation is rendered pretty certain by a passage in another Brehon law tract, which mentions as a proceeding liable to penalty, quote, to proclaim a combat, i.e. to send a challenge, without offering to submit to law, unquote. Shan, there you go. And yes, I have my... Brilliant! Well, then you're going to feel right at home. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're very welcome, Shan, and thank you for helping me with the pronunciation of your name. Beginning to wonder who came up with the battle tactics. Go to war with your legs tied together and with a stone in your pocket. The Romans miss a trick. Good idea, Monica. We booked a whole cottage this time. It's far cheaper than a B&B, and we can go out for eating or stay in. I like to, when we were away, when we were away in Ireland as a family, we always liked hiring a house, renting a house for a week, because you could just stay there if you wish. If it was raining and it was one of those days where you really didn't want to go out, you didn't have to go out. You could stay put. Certain formalities, both before and during a single combat, had to be complied with. There should be at least one witness who, in some respects, corresponded with the seconds in the duel of later times. And an interval of 5 days should elapse between the challenge and the fight. Two wise arrangements. If the combat was to decide a case, it was necessary that each combatant should give verbal security before the witness or witnesses that he would abide by the result of the fight in the settlement. Saoirse Nichiandel is in the house. Hello there, Saoirse. Long time no see. Hope you are keeping well. Always a pleasure to welcome you into the house. A typical case of single combat is quoted in the Seanachas Mór. Two great Red Branch champions, Conall Cernach and Léire the Victorious, on one occasion met, quarrelled, and were ready to fight on the spot, in all except the presence of a witness for whom they were waiting. A woman happened to come up, and seeing them likely to fall on each other, demanded that the fight should be put off till a witness, a man, should be procured, or was procured. To this both agreed, but as the length of postponement was not fixed, they had to refer the case to Conchobar and his Brehon Shanachah, who fixed on 5 days. It would appear that this case regulated all other single combats, so that when two men challenged each other, they had to wait for 5 days before fighting. Now, that ends the section that deals with battle. So we're kind of going to move past all the gory stuff now, and we're starting a whole new chapter. But before we do that, I'm going to take a sup of water. And the new chapter is chapter 5, and it is called Structure of Society. So Tom King, unfortunately, all the discussion about weaponry is now looks like it's past. And then the next chapter after that is called the Brehon Laws. So this is going to be fun. Good time for a commercial break about calendars. We interrupt this broadcast to bring you information about the new Mythical Ireland publication, the 2024 Mythical Ireland calendar. Yes, good point, Caitlin. Order yours on the website now. €15 plus post and packaging. Did I share the link the last time? I did. Order your 2024 calendar here, as they say in parts of Ireland colloquially. Here. Come here, with all the calendar, will you? Come here. And there are, I can assure you, literally people who speak like that in this part of the world. Yes. Yeah. Lots of nice photography. And don't forget, there's a bonus photograph. There's the Douth sycamore tree and curbstones under the stars picture. I know, right? Yes, indeed. Thank you, Caitlin. Anton, is your new book in the shop already? Well, the newest book that I've written is not published yet, and that's the Return to Segish Companion. That's 132,000 words. I'm editing it at the moment, so no is the answer. The last new book that I published probably was the Bowen monograph last year, I think. Did they mention the Holy Hand Grenade, says Rex. No, surprisingly, that is in the Monty Python version. Yes, Lynn, but I like calendars more. Kathy May Dale, I didn't realise we were live today. Good day to Mr. Anthony. Well, Kathy May, thank you for joining us. Yes, I couldn't live stream yesterday because it was my wonderful wife's birthday. Sometimes you just have to postpone things because there's other important things happening, you know. Yay, failery. Yes, indeed. Michael Trott, the battle's over. Sotia here. Whoa, society, then Brehon Laws. Yeah, I know. It's like full on, isn't it? You know, this is, as I say, chapter 5. It is called Structure of Society. Section 1 of this chapter is called 5 Main Classes of People. I am so excited. Davog is going to be in Ennistimon on Friday night. My last night in the country. That's Anne Scott Doherty. And of course, the Davog she's referring to is our good friend Davog Grin, who is a very, very talented musician and performer and is giving a series of gigs around the country and is coming to the Forge on the 11th of November. Mr. Anthony, you have a dry sense of humor. You do make me smile. Happy birthday to you. Yeah, she has spent 25 years married to me and is at the point where there's a permanent mark on her forehead from slapping her forehead when I say something cheesy or stupid or something that's reputed to be a joke but isn't funny. Yes, indeed. The lay people were divided into classes, from the king down to the slave, and the Brehon law took cognizance of all, setting forth their rights, duties, and privileges. The leading, though not the sole, qualification to confer rank was property. What's new, folks? Huh? The rank being, roughly speaking, in proportion to the amount. Wow. These classes were not castes, for under certain conditions, persons could pass from one to the next above, always provided his character was unimpeachable. Wow. The social subdivision of the people, as given in some of the law tracts, is very minute and artificial. We may adopt here the broad classification outlined by O'Curry, which has been followed by Dr. Ritchie, the editor of the third and fourth volumes of the Brehon Laws, namely 5 main classes. 1. Kings of several grades, from the king of the Tuatha or Cantred up to the king of Ireland. And we covered that in an earlier chapter. We were talking about the Tuatha king, the provincial king, and then the over king or the high king. 2. Nobles, which class indeed included kings. 3. Non-noble freemen with property. 4. Non-noble freemen without property, or with some, but not sufficient to place them among the class next above. That is so Irish. There's a class for non-noble freemen with property, and there's a class for non-noble freemen without property, but those in that category could have property, but not enough to put them into the category of non-noble freemen with property. And 5, the non-free classes. The first 3, kings, nobles, non-noble freemen with property, were the privileged classes. A person belonging to these was an Ara, A-I-R-E, or chief. Kings have been treated of in chapter 3, and I was talking about that. So, should we ever romanticize about the fact? Should anybody ever say to you, what did the English ever do for us? And look at the structure of Irish society and all the rest, and all of that. And should anybody complain about the fact that there's a class structure in society today, or that there has been in recent times? Well, apparently there was in medieval Ireland too. Who is in the house? Did I see? I did. I saw John Inman, I'm sure, but his comment has disappeared. Johnny Wilson is in the house from Dallas, Texas. Was late today working our local hay show. That's perfectly okay, Johnny. We're very happy to see you all the same. Monica is quite a bit jealous of what, though? I'm missing, perhaps. Can't wait for that book, really, says Monica. Yeah, and just to mention, for those who may not know it, Bronze Age patrons of Mythical Ireland, and you see the address there, patreon.com/Mythical Ireland, are getting that book at the moment in draft form. I'm going to share the whole thing with them over time. John Inman, yes, is in the house, but the comment where he said he was 50 minutes late or something seems to have disappeared. I'm not sure what happened there. But anyway, John, you're very welcome, of course, as always. Flaws, F-L-A-I-T-H-S. So the reason I struggle to pronounce that one is because that's like an anglicization of an Irish word. Flaw or noble. The nobles were those who had land as their own property, for which they did not pay rent. They were the owners of the soil, the aristocracy. Part of this land they held in their own hands and tilled by the labour of the non-free classes. Oh, typical. Part they let to tenants, as will be explained in chapter 7. An ara of this class was called a flaith, F-L-A-I-T-H, i.e. a noble, a chief, a prince. The flaiths or nobles were sharply distinguished from the non-noble class next under them. There were several ranks of nobles, the rank depending chiefly on the amount of landed property. The Tuatha, as already explained, was under the government of the head noble, who was the Rí or king, and to him all the other nobles of the Tuatha owed allegiance and tribute. So the king of the Tuatha was the supreme leader of the Tuatha, as it were. And the only people who had authority over the king of the Tuatha were the provincial king and the high king. To be I live says I see it on my screen. Is that the scrolling thingamy? Flaws were expected to be generous. Oh, flahul. John Inman says, bloody Elizabeth. She had harpists hung with their harps. Nasty. Angloizations, says Saoirse, are very frustrating and mihasta. Yes, very much so. It's raining us desert. You live in trifle. You live in apple pie. It's raining us desert dwellers love rain. I'm sure, Barbara, that's very welcome where you are. You can have some of ours. How are the Brehon laws compiled? And by that mean, was it selection of medieval lawyers or noblemen, for want of better selection of words? We will be talking about that, Brendan, because the next chapter after this one is about the Brehon laws. So give us, I presume that'll be the next episode, to be honest, by the time we get to that. But give us a chance and we'll get to it and we'll hopefully explain that for you. It stands for to be Irish. To be I too. You're welcome. Call me Irish. Everyone else does. All right, Irish. That's how it shall be. Rina to yeah, no. We're not going to get into that. I do not expect people to bow before me and to till my land. By the way, you wouldn't have much to do because it's a very small garden. Yes, so the Rí or king of the Tuatha. All other nobles of the Tuatha owed allegiance and tribute to him. The highest rank of noble, next to the Tanist of the king, was the Ara Forgall. He should have at least 20 Saer tenants, which I presume is free, S-A-E-R, and 20 Daer tenants, D-A-E-R. And he had to answer to the king for the character of the nobles and others under him. So that's coming in a later chapter. But what does that mean? What does that dare mean? Caitlin and Saoirse will probably know. Chapter 7, Section 3. I'm going down a rabbit hole here. Yes. Chapter 7, Section 3. Dare tenants. The whole subject is involved in considerable obscurity. Okay, maybe the Dare tenants were poor men who had to take all their stock, or nearly all, on hire. Okay, let's not get into that now. Let's leave that for the future, you know. To be phonetically class. Yes. I have here in my hands the original pencil that Shakespeare used to write some of his plays. But it's so badly chewed, I cannot tell whether it's a 2B or not 2B. Pardon me. Yes, exactly, Caitlin. I agree wholeheartedly. Flaw comes from the word for sovereignty. Flahius, the Cailleach in that Niall kisses in that story. Huh? That you know all about, that I haven't had much. Sorry. Oh, things are hectic. I do apologize. It's the Pinkish Hardback. Very good book, says Saoirse. Pinkish. Is that the one that was a little bit controversial from the... Pardon me. Stand up in front of the camera for a moment. Is that one? Joe Kerrigan's Brehon Laws. So just ignore the blurb on the back. Apparently it's very inaccurate. There's a lot of criticism about that. But yeah. And of course, the most reliable and the principal recommended source in relation to the Brehon Laws is Fergus Kelly's Laws of Ancient Ireland. Sorry, I have to face the camera while I'm saying that. Fergus Kelly, isn't it, Caitlin? Fergus Kelly's Laws of Ancient Ireland. Or is it Law Tracts of Ancient Ireland? Which I do have in my library. I assure you, I just can't immediately see exactly where. I can't immediately see where it is. But anyway, that's the one. And if you really, really want to do a deep dive into Brehon laws, D.A. Binchy was the foremost 20th century scholar on Irish Brehon laws and published a huge amount of work. The law tracts can't be tracked. That's like, that reminds me of, I always wanted to be a Gregorian monk, but I just never had the chance. Too many books and not organized well enough. Is your new Irish farming book also about the Brehon laws? Oh yeah, that where did that, for goodness sake, what am I like? Okay, now I'm going to have to just stop everything here for a moment. Because that's the same type of cover that's on the laws one. It's the same author, Fergus Kelly. Now, I've only started to read that. To be honest, it's going to be a while before I'm going to be able to get around to it. But I imagine a lot of that is based on Brehon laws. So it's kind of that size book we're looking for. Where is it? There it is. Oh, yes. So you can see how similar it is. It's called A Guide to Early Irish Law by Fergus Kelly. That's the one. And probably Caitlin's been screaming, jumping up and down, saying, me, pick me, show my comment. No, maybe not. Yes, there it is. Look, there you go. Thank you, Caitlin. I knew you'd know. This was originally published in 1988, has been reprinted 1991, 1995, 1998, and this reprint 2005. Yeah. So that's if you wanted a very reliable scholarly source on the Brehon laws, that you couldn't beat. Now, if you wanted a popular sort of layman's book, Joe Kerrigan, but as I said, there is some criticism of that book. Whether it's justified or not, I don't know, because I haven't read it. So apologies. Let me just quickly catch up on comments before I continue. Bite your tongue. There is no such thing as too many books. Correct. Absolutely right, Barbara. A wizard is never late, nor is he early. A wizard never has too many books, nor too few. John A. Brennan, who's the comment? Lynn Murphy has some lovely books on the laws. There you go. I'm not familiar with John A. Brennan. Yeah, that's the one, says Michael. That's the one Michael was talking about earlier. Yeah, the blurb got critiqued. Well, you can't please all at the same time. Yeah. Yeah. The blurb is not an accurate reflection of what's in the book, actually. Becca says, "Oh, good. At least I'm not the only one who has a whole bunch of books I haven't read yet." Neil MacLeod is probably the best current scholar working with early Irish law. Wow. So there's tons of sources here. I mean, there's so much material on the Brehon laws. I've only just skimmed the surface, is all I've ever done, Blurbs are like that. Yeah, but the publisher should have checked that it was actually accurate, It was, shall we say, contained some extravagant claims. Never too many books or musical instruments, says Monica. That is true too. Absolutely. Yes. So we were talking about Sayer tenants, that the highest rank of noble next to the tanist of the king was the Ara Foragall, who should have at least 20 Sayer tenants and 20 Dare tenants. And he had the answer to the king for the character of the nobles and others under him. He was a high-class magistrate who presided at the making of covenants and saw them carried out, in which capacity he was termed Macnascara, i.e. surety man. And he had 100 armed men to attend on him on all state occasions. He probably needed those just for the fact that a fight could break out. Us Irish, we get together, have a few drinks, and suddenly there's a big brawl, I'm being slightly facetious there, by the way. One of his functions was to determine the status, privileges, and duties of the several nobles and functionaries about the king's court. Ranking under the Ara Forgall was the Ara Tushi. Is it Tuisi? The print is just a little bit heavy. Ara Tushi, the front Ara, and next under him the Ara Ard, or the High Ara, because of the narcotics under which he was under the influence. I'm joking. He's definitely not called the High Ara because he was high. Each so called in relation to the next rank below, each with a defined amount of property and with several privileges. The lowest of the noble classes was the Ara Jessa, D-E-S-A, so called from the Jess, D-E-S, or fee simple land for which he received rent. He ranked as an Ara Jessa, provided he possessed the necessary land, and that his father and grandfather had been each an Ara. Certain houses, horses, and equipments were prescribed for him as necessary for his rank, and he should have at least 5 Sayer tenants and 5 Dare or Gilna tenants. One order of nobles, the Ara Echta, who held a military position, has already been treated of, page 92. Caitlin says, my motto is, it's not hoarding if it's harps. It's not hoarding if it's books. Yeah, I like that. He died, J.A.B. You remind me of him. How many books have you written, Mr. Anthony? Written 10. Partly completed another 2. Published 9. So hopefully number 10 will get published soon. Keep an eye out on that. I'm going to try and get it edited into some form that it can actually be published in. And this section is called Non-Noble Freemen with Property. A person belonging to the other class of Ara, a non-noble rent-paying freeman with property, had no land of his own, his property consisting of cattle and other movable goods. Hence he was called a Bow Ara, i.e. a cow chief, bow from cow. And of course we know Bow. We're intimately familiar with Bow through Brunabonia and Bowen the goddess. bright cow. I have only 2 harps, but 4 bodhráns, 3 banjos, 6 guitars, 30 whistles, a mandolin. Is that a ukulele, a charango, a flute, and a piano? You have enough for a whole orchestra there. Do you play them all at the one time? Oh, Monica, that sounds fabulous. He should rent a certain amount of land and possess a certain amount of property in cattle and other goods to entitle him to rank as an ara. A beau ara, having no land of his own, rented land from a flaith or noble, thus taking rank as a saor céile or free tenant. And he grazed his cattle partly on this and partly on the commons grazing land. He might sublet his rented land to under tenants. The beau aras were magistrates and as such presided in court or at the Aibhinn meetings, Aibinn, in the discharge of some legal functions. And for this they had certain allowances and privileges according to rank. Among their prerequisites were a share in a mill, in that mill, and in the kiln of the district, and fees for witnessing contracts and for other legal functions. There were several ranks of beau aras according to the amount of property. The ara Coshring, or binding chief, was the highest of the beau aras. He, excuse me, he was the leader and representative of all his finne or kindred, and was expected to be able to give an account of their conduct and obedience to the laws when occasion arose. In case of complaint or accusation, he answered for them to the king of the Tua, having previously investigated the case. Hence, he was also called the Ara Finne, or family chief. This custom continued down to the 16th century and came under the notice of Spencer, who calls it Kin Cogish, and according to him, it was transferred to the Anglo-Irish statute book in his own time during the reign of Elizabeth. Quote, another statute I remember, which, having been an ancient Irish custom, is now upon advisement made a law, and that is called the custom of Kin Cogish. That is, that every head of every sept, and every chief of every kindred or family, should be answerable and bound to bring forth every one of that sept and kindred under it at all times to be justified, when he should be required to charge with any treason, felony, or other heinous crime, unquote. Peter is away. Good luck, Peter. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Thanks for dropping in and saying hello. My favourite bit in the Dlibrahan is the bit where you are absolved from retribution for damages caused by your cat if your cat was hunting at the time of the damage. Extraordinary stuff. Yes, indeed. 10 to 12 books writ is grand, Anthony. Yes, indeed. It's not bad. It's not bad. I would like it to be a lot more, but we'll get there, you know. Sheila Gunn made it on very late. Sheila, you're so welcome. We're delighted to see you here. Even if it is close to the end of the episode, this is perfectly okay. We're so happy to be able to say hello to you, because now it'll be on the video when you play it back. Spencer's anglicised form, Kin Cogish, Kin-Cogish, represents correctly the sound of the Irish name of this custom, Ken Cogush. Now that second word is very complex. Well, not very, but it's complex. CENN hyphen COMHFHOGUIS. Cogush. Yeah. So MHFH would almost be silent. Cogish. So Kin Cogish. Ken Cogish. The head of kindred, from Ken, head, and Cogus, consanguinity or relationship. Genitive, Cogush, pronounced Cogish. The Fir Folla was a rich beau ara who, having more stock than he was able to graze, hired them out as Torcrech to others, Dair Céiles, who thus became his dependents. He held a very high position as a member of society and as a magistrate, almost equal to an Ara Coshring. Just give it your best Sean Connery impersonation. a pile of books fell the other day and hit me on the head. I can only blame my shelf. There's my best Sean Connery impersonation, or my worst. They're probably the same thing. But I ain't been on holiday, but what I have been is I've been out a lot this summer on tours in Ireland. I know, hard to believe, right? But thank you for the compliment. Is a fair fulla, sorry, if a fair fulla or an ara cushring could prove that he had twice as much property as was required for the lowest rank of noble, the ara jessa, and complied with certain other conditions and formalities, and also provided his father and grandfather had been aras who had land, he was himself entitled to take the rank as an ara jessa noble. Wow, that's not complicated at all. The Brúfer, Brewy, or Briuga was an interesting official of the Bow Ara class. He was a public hospitaller as well as a magistrate. He and his office will be treated of is in chapter XXI, section 10. The lowest in rank of the non-noble Aras was the Ogara, i.e. the junior Ara, or young, young, from the youngness of his Araship. Many of these were men who had belonged to the next lower rank of freemen and who had accumulated sufficient property to qualify them as Og Aras. The three preceding main classes, kings, nobles, and boaras, as well as aras, chiefs, or privileged people, the first two being flaws or noble aras, the third non noble aras, i.e., free tenants with property sufficient to entitle them of the position of ara. I'm not even going to try and read that again. I'm just not. Good luck making sense of that. All three had some part in the government of the country and in the administration of the law as kings, tannists, nobles, military chiefs, magistrates, and persons otherwise in authority, and they commonly wore a flesk or bracelet on the arm as a mark of dignity. That the classification of chiefs into these various grades was a reality, and that the several ranks were separate and distinct and universally recognized as clearly as justices of the peace, resident magistrates, deputy lieutenants, lord lieutenants of counties, etc., are now, is proved by the fact that we often find them incidentally referred to, both in the laws and in the general literature, as being well known and understood. For instance, in the ancient description of Tara and its fesh, quoted by Petrie from the Book of Leinster, 6 of the chieftain classes, namely Ara Forgol, Ara Ord, Ara Tushi, Ara Echta, Ara Jessa, and Brewy, are included in the list, in which are named the numerous officials in the great banqueting hall. So there you have it. Wow. It's kind of, structured and surprisingly complex and ruled over by quite complex laws, statutes, as it were, all of which were written down, all of which were administered by a highly stratified, structured society. You know, it has been said and claimed sometimes very loosely and very disingenuously, I think, that the Irish judicial structure as it exists today was given to us by the English, which is probably true in certain to a certain extent, and the structure of our local government and our councils and all of that. But by God, if you go back and look at the situation that prevailed before the English or the Anglo-Normans came to Ireland, it was incredibly complex, Is the upcoming test an open book test? Is that for me, Jan, that question, or is that, I'm not sure what that's about. Oh, pardon me. You have a wonderful library. Well, going out, you can see your face is shining. Good air. Yeah, not right now. I'm tired now. I'm tired. I had a bit of a nap earlier on. That's just strictly between us, right? Don't tell anyone else. Um, and I mean, as always, don't forget, especially if you're new or you're not, familiar with what we do here. Mythical Ireland is a vast resource for the exploration of Irish mythology, Irish prehistory, uh, Irish monuments, etc., etc., Irish traditions, Irish culture, Irish folklore. MythicalIreland.com is the website. It's a quite a substantial website. There's a huge amount of material on there. You could read it, and if you were to read every word of it, it would keep you busy for weeks. And I mean that absolutely, it would keep you busy for weeks. If you're interested in going deeper, we have books. Uh, the most popular book of all the Mythical Ireland publications these days is the one that is called Mythical Ireland, New Light on the Ancient Past. I'll share the link to that right now. That book has done very well. It's been revised and expanded. The other big book is Island of the Setting Sun in Search of Ireland's Ancient Astronomers, which was my first book, co-written with Richard Moore, first published in 2006 and twice revised and reprinted. And in terms of everything else, the monographs, the one about Bowen, the only book in existence about the goddess Bowen, if you want to read about her. Otherwise, you have to consult a huge amount of sources. And the other monograph, which is about Finn and the Salmon of Knowledge. I am in the process slowly of writing the Fornox monograph, which will be number 3 in the monograph series. Smaller books, but scholarly books. And the most extraordinary work to date is Return to Segish, and the new, recently completed book, the 132,000 word book, is a companion volume to Return to Segish. So I've just shared the links there to some of those works. Mythical, do you have an episode about Balor, leader of the Fomorians? I'm not sure if we specifically did one just about him, but we certainly have mentioned him in dispatches. He certainly has featured. Pardon me. If you just give me a second, I'm just going to try and do a quick search. If you just do a search of the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel and search for the word Balor, you'll see that he features in lots of different episodes. For instance, episode 5 of Live Irish Myths was the second Battle of Oitura, in which he features very strongly. We did an episode on Lu Nabua, the book that was wonderfully produced by Sean Fitzgerald and his friends, and contains a Donegal version of that story, in which Balor features very strongly. We did. There's a simple story recorded 7 years ago now, and I see the original version of my library, the much smaller library. Yeah, that's the story of Balor and the magic cow. So plenty of stuff about Balor, but we haven't done an episode specifically about him. But he has featured lots, Now I'm just going to scroll on and see if I'm missing anything. No problem at all. Very glad to be able to help. Thanks for a fun Tuesday afternoon, says Barbara Murphy. Everyone keep safe, healthy, and happy. Yes, and the very same to you, and of course everyone's watching. Lots of Murphys watching today, by the way. Several of us Murphys. Sure, we're everywhere, aren't we? To be I live. Can you answer my question, please? Which question? Apologies, I missed that. Let me just scroll back up now and see if I can find it. I wanted to know if we kept some of our ancient laws in concurrent at the beginning of the Norman conquest. If we kept some of our ancient in concurrent, I believe they were still in existence at the beginning of the Norman conquest. I believe. Can't specifically answer that because I don't know enough about the subject. But I suspect we might be answering that as we read through. So perhaps keep coming back is what I should say. Yeah, keep coming back for future episodes. It's a way of tying you into being here. Yeah, if you don't mind, that is, of course. Oh, I'm just scrolling back to the bottom. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Helen. A pleasure, as always, to see you in the house. My computer's gone very slow all of a sudden. Let me just, while I'm talking to you, I suspect there's a background process that's running that takes up a huge amount of resources, including internet, and I'm going to shut it down. I can hear the hard drive working hard, and all the process, all the things that I click on, everything's happening really slowly. Yeah, let me just quickly end that task. Yeah, I think that's helped. Yes, indeed. Thanks, I've subbed and I'll see. Sure, thanks. Brilliant. Yes, great. I know it's still slow. Anyway, never mind. Well, that's all we have time for, as it happens. Thank you for joining us as always. Wow, episode 248. We're not far off 250 now. 250 episodes. That's really something. And there's still plenty of stuff, still plenty of material. Yeah, and back to Monday. Let me just double check that actually. Let me just double check that we are back to Monday next week. That I don't have anything in my calendar. What is next Monday? Is the 30th. Oh yeah, next Monday's a bank holiday here in Ireland. Bad news is this weekend we fall back. So our clocks will be going back this weekend and the evenings will be shorter, darker, an hour early. Anyway, listen, have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to order your calendar or calendars, plural. And please do consider supporting Mythical Ireland by becoming a patron. And as I said, that new book, I'm sharing it 2 pages at a time with patrons at the Bronze Age level and above. That's $10 a month. And $10, of course, a month is the price of 2. In this country anyway, is the price of 2 really nice cups of coffee, maybe 3, depending on where you're from. So it's not much. And we'll get that hopefully to publication ready stage at some time in the near future. But in the meantime, Mythical Ireland patrons are getting to read it first before anybody else. Thank you, Anne McCallum. I didn't see anything that annoyed me, and please don't apologize for anything at all. And I know it wouldn't be like you to do anything like that, so there's no problem at all. I will definitely be back, says Sean. Brilliant. Excellent. We will be delighted to have your company. In the meantime, I need to go and look at the culprit of what is slowing my computer down. Everything's really slow all of a sudden. And I can hear the hard drive. I can hear the fan spinning down there. It's going, it's working really hard. There's a process that has started. Sometimes it's Google Drive. Sometimes it's Dropbox, stuff like that. Starts transferring files in the background. It basically takes up all the resources. Have a good week, folks. We'll see you soon. Don't forget, of course, if you haven't already done so, to come on to the social media, the Mythical Ireland community and the Mythical Ireland page on Facebook or on Instagram. We're also on Twitter, or if you prefer to call it X. And of course, YouTube. Subscribe to the channel for future notifications. We will see you soon. Sharon O'Farrell, we just get to say hello as we're heading out the door. Sharon, we're just finishing. Thank you for joining us, and at least you got the mention. And of course, as soon as we finish, the video will become available for you to watch back. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. Monday, I think. We'll revert back to Mondays next week. All that remains for me to say at this moment is Ecowa Kolosov, Slán go fóill. Bye for now. And of course, the most important one, Tóga Bugé. Take it easy.